Evan Hale sat in the cockpit of his small shuttle, staring out at the endless darkness of space. The stars shone like tiny diamonds, but tonight they felt cold and distant. He had been sent on a routine mission, a simple survey of the outer systems. Nothing dangerous, nothing exciting, just another assignment. That thought had kept him calm for most of the flight, until the warning lights blinked across his dashboard. A sharp, high-pitched alarm echoed through the cockpit, making him jump. He looked down at the instruments and saw the shuttle had been caught in some kind of gravitational snare. The controls were unresponsive, and no amount of pushing buttons seemed to help. "What the hell?" he muttered, gripping the console tightly. His voice sounded too loud in the small cabin. He tried to stabilize the shuttle. But the ship shuddered violently. Outside the window, he could see faint flashes of blue light, energy fields that twisted and bent around his ship like invisible ropes. He realized he was trapped. He tried calling for help, but the communication system gave only static. No one could hear him, and if they could, it would take hours for a rescue team to reach this far in the outer regions. The thought of being alone made a cold sweat run down his back. Then a soft glow appeared in the distance, growing brighter with every second. It was like nothing he had ever seen. A massive structure floated in space, shaped like a giant crystal, refracting light into hundreds of colors. It seemed alive, pulsating with energy as if it were breathing. Evan's shuttle was being slowly pulled toward it, guided by the invisible forces he could not understand. The shuttle rocked violently as it entered the gravitational field surrounding the structure. Evan gritted his teeth and tried to resist, but the ship was too small. With a sudden jerk, it slammed through a shimmering energy barrier. The interior lights flickered, and he felt a sharp vibration beneath his seat. When the shuttle finally came to rest, it hovered silently above a vast platform that stretched as far as he could see. The surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the colors of the crystal towers that rose high above. The view was breathtaking, but Evan felt no time for wonder. He was still trapped, and he had no idea what awaited him on this alien world. Before he could even think about his next move, a loud humming sound filled the shuttle. The air seemed to vibrate, and then a panel opened with a soft hiss. A beam of light shot into the cockpit, scanning him from head to toe. He felt his skin tingle as the light moved over him, and the shuttle's systems recorded every detail. A calm yet commanding voice spoke through the speakers. "Do not be afraid, human. You are being brought to the Queen." Evan froze. His heart raced. He had been expecting alarms, defenses, maybe even hostile creatures, but not words. Not words that sounded polite, yet carried a weight of authority. "Queen? What queen?" he stammered. His voice shook more than he wanted. "The ruler of this world. You are to be escorted to her immediately." The voice was firm, final. There was no room for argument. The shuttle's controls unlocked themselves. Slowly, it began to move forward, guided by the energy beams. Evan had no choice but to follow. The platform beneath the shuttle stretched endlessly, and in the distance, he could see towers rising high above. The architecture was impossible, elegant, and unlike anything he had ever imagined. Buildings bent and curved in ways that defied gravity, and the entire city shimmered with a strange inner light. As he moved closer, he noticed movement on the platform. Tall figures, unlike any species he had ever seen, approached. They had smooth, metallic skin that reflected the light like mirrors, and they moved with a fluid grace that seemed almost unreal. Their eyes were large and black, shining like polished stones, and they observed him silently. The shuttle landed gently on a raised platform. Doors opened automatically, and Evan hesitated only for a moment before stepping out. He felt the ground beneath him, hard, cool, and slightly vibrating, as if alive. The air smelled faintly sweet, unlike anything on Earth, and he realized that every step he took echoed in the vast, open space. The tall figures surrounded him, not threatening, but cautious. One of them stepped forward and extended a slender hand. "You are Evan Hale," it said in the same calm, deep voice. "You are to follow me." Evan nodded, unsure what else to do. He followed the figure, stepping over bridges and through halls made of crystal. Light refracted around him, casting rainbow patterns on the walls. It was beautiful, almost hypnotic, but he could not shake the feeling of fear. This was not a place for humans. This was a world beyond understanding, and he was completely alone. Finally, they reached a massive chamber. The walls were lined with towering crystals, each humming with energy. In the center stood a throne, carved from a single enormous crystal that seemed to float just above the ground. Seated on it was a being of immense presence. The figure had 4 eyes that gleamed with intelligence and power. Its skin shimmered in shades of blue and silver, and it wore garments that seemed woven from light itself. Evan could feel the energy radiating from the being, a quiet, commanding force that made him instinctively straighten his posture. The being spoke, and the sound of its voice resonated through the chamber. "Are you alone, human?" The question froze him. Blood rushed to his head, and a chill ran down his spine. Every instinct in him screamed that this was not just a question, it was a test, a judgment, a probe into something he could not understand. "Yes," he said finally, his voice trembling slightly. I am alone. My shuttle was disabled and there is no one with me." The being's eyes studied him carefully. Evan could feel the weight of that gaze pressing down on him. The silence that followed felt endless. He wanted to turn, to run, but the force that had brought him here was stronger than any fear. Finally, the being spoke again. "It is unusual for a human to come alone to this world. Most of your kind travel in groups or with protection, yet you are here. Why?" Evan swallowed hard. "I was surveying the outer systems. Something happened. I did not mean to come here. It was an accident." He paused, hoping his words sounded truthful. He had no idea if they did. The being rose from the throne. Even from a distance, Evan could see the sheer size and strength of the alien. Its movements were fluid and precise, each step echoing across the chamber. "An accident brings you here. You are fortunate that you were not destroyed." Evan nodded quickly. I understand. I am grateful." The being stopped a few feet away and studied him again. Evan could feel every detail of himself being scanned, not just his body, but the way he thought, the emotions he carried. He wanted to look away, but he could not. There was something compelling, almost dangerous in the way the being regarded him. "You must stay," it said finally. "Until we determine your purpose, you will remain under observation. You will not leave this chamber and no one may harm you. But know this, the safety of your kind depends on how truthful you are." Evan nodded. He did not fully understand, but he knew that disobedience could be deadly. "I will answer honestly. I promise." The being's eyes seemed to glow faintly, and then it turned and walked back toward the throne. "We will see if your words hold true. For now, human, remain where you are. You will be watched." The crystal figures that had escorted him earlier stepped closer, forming a protective circle around him. Evan's heart raced. He had survived the journey, but he knew the real test was only beginning. He was in a world that did not belong to humans, in the presence of a being far beyond his understanding. Every instinct in him screamed caution, yet a part of him felt a strange thrill. He was alone, yes, but he was alive. And for a human, that was never truly the end of anything. Hours passed. Time felt distorted in the chamber, the crystal walls refracting light in ever-changing patterns. Evan could hear soft humming in the air, almost like a heartbeat. He tried to keep calm, pacing slowly as he waited. Every now and then, one of the crystal figures would glance at him, their movements silent, precise. He thought of Earth, of the blue planet spinning far away, unaware of what had just happened. He thought of his family, his friends, and the world he had left behind. He wondered if anyone even realized he was missing. For a moment, panic rose in his chest, but he swallowed it down. Fear wouldn't help him here. Only clarity, only honesty could save him. As he waited, he began to study the chamber more closely. The walls pulsed faintly with energy, and he realized that the crystals were not just decoration. They were alive. They responded to thought, to presence, to emotion. He could feel the chamber testing him, learning from him, weighing him. Suddenly, a door at the far side of the chamber opened. Evan froze, unsure if he was allowed to move. From the doorway emerged a figure smaller than the queen, human in appearance, yet dressed in a uniform that marked her as someone important. She nodded at Evan, and he felt a flicker of hope. "Evan Hale?" she asked gently. "I am Mara Quinn. I am here to assist you. Do not be afraid." Evan exhaled slowly. A friendly face, even in an alien world, was worth more than he could say. He nodded, feeling a faint spark of courage. Maybe, just maybe, he could survive this. Evan followed Mara Quinn through the vast halls of the Crystal Palace. The floor under their feet shimmered with every step, casting faint reflections that made the space feel alive. Evan tried to focus on his surroundings, but his mind kept returning to the question the Queen had asked. "Are you alone, human?" The memory made his blood run cold. Mara walked with quiet confidence. Her uniform marked her as a human envoy, part of the Galactic Alliance, but she moved like she belonged here. "You must remain calm," she said softly, noticing the tension in Evan's shoulders. "The Queen tests everyone who enters her court. Not all species survive her first questions." Evan swallowed hard. "Tests?" he asked, trying not to sound panicked. "Yes," Mara replied. "The Varun observe everything. They sense fear, lies, even the smallest hesitation. You cannot hide anything here. But humans, you have something unique. You survive in ways most species cannot. If you remain honest, you might gain their trust." Evan nodded. He did not fully understand, but he trusted Mara. She seemed to know the palace and its rules. Her calmness made him feel slightly safer, though he could not shake the sense of danger. They reached a large chamber filled with Varun nobles. Each was taller than any human, with metallic skin that glinted in the light. Their many eyes observed Evan as he entered, some wide and curious, others cold and suspicious. Every step he took was measured, every breath deliberate. He felt as though a single misstep could end his life. Mara spoke first. "Evan Hale is from Earth. He came alone, unintentionally, and has no hostile intent. He is to be observed until the Queen decides his fate." A tall noble with deep blue skin and 4 eyes narrowed at him. "A human." "Alone," the being said. Its voice was like wind over metal, low and sharp. "Do you expect us to believe that one such fragile creature can survive in this space alone?" Evan stepped forward. His throat was dry, but he tried to speak clearly. I only came here by accident. My shuttle was caught in a field I could not see. I did not intend to enter your world. I have no weapons. I am not a threat." A ripple ran through the chamber. Some nobles whispered among themselves, their voices like soft chimes. Evan noticed that many were skeptical, but others seemed intrigued. Mara gave him a small nod, a sign that he was doing well. One of the younger nobles approached him. Its skin shimmered with green patterns that moved like liquid. "Why did you not call for help?" it asked, its many eyes fixed on him. "A human alone in space is dangerous only to itself. Why not signal your kind? Evan hesitated. He wanted to tell the truth. I tried, he said finally. The communication system failed. I could not reach anyone. I had no choice but to let the shuttle drift. That is when your world captured me. The noble studied him, then stepped back. Mara placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. Answer only what is asked, she whispered. They will watch your words closely. Hours passed as the nobles asked him questions. Some were simple: where he came from, what humans eat, how long he had traveled. Others were strange, testing his understanding of loyalty, courage, and fear. Evan tried to answer honestly, though each word felt like it carried weight, far beyond his intent. Finally, the queen appeared again. She floated down from the throne, her presence commanding silence. The nobles straightened immediately. Even the tallest and strongest seemed to shrink in her gaze. Human, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. You have answered my questions. Yet your presence here is still unusual. Most of your kind travel in fleets, in groups, with protection. You are alone. This is dangerous. Why should I allow you to remain? Evan swallowed hard. Because humans, even alone, can survive. We face danger in ways other species do not. We adapt, we learn, and we help each other when we can. I want only to survive. I do not seek conflict. The queen's 4 eyes studied him. Evan felt as though she could see straight into his mind. A chill ran down his spine. He had never felt so exposed, so small, and yet, somehow, the fear was mixed with fascination. Your words are interesting, she said. I have never heard a species claim strength while admitting vulnerability. Most would claim power and lie about fear. Humans, you are different. Evan felt a flicker of hope. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said quietly. The queen did not respond immediately. She turned her gaze to the nobles surrounding her. Observe him. Let him remain. But test him further. We must know if this human carries the strength he claims, or if it is only words. A young noble with silver skin approached Evan. You will remain under my watch, it said. You are to follow me to the living quarters. You will not leave, and you will answer any questions truthfully. Evan nodded. I understand. Mara stepped closer. Do not be afraid. You are not in danger as long as you are honest. Remember, humans survive by being clever and adaptable. Use both. Evan followed the noble through corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. The walls glowed softly, and he could see the pulse of energy running through the palace itself. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He realized that this world was alive in ways he could not yet comprehend. They arrived at a chamber that would be his quarters. It was small by Varun standards, but enormous compared to a human room. The walls shimmered faintly, and the floor seemed soft under his feet. A bed floated in the center, shaped like a cloud of light. A small desk and chair appeared when he approached, adapting to his size. You will remain here, the noble said. Meals will be brought. Questions may be asked at any time. Do not attempt to leave without permission. Evan nodded. I will not. The noble left, and Evan sat on the bed, taking a deep breath. He could feel the weight of the queen's gaze even from here. He was alone, yes, but watched constantly. Every thought, every movement could be observed. The thought was exhausting. Hours passed, and Evan tried to rest. Sleep was difficult in the strange environment, but he forced himself to close his eyes. Dreams came, strange and vivid, filled with alien landscapes, colors he had never seen, and voices that whispered in a language he did not understand. He woke several times, heart pounding, and realized that the palace itself seemed to influence his mind. The next morning, a soft chime echoed in the chamber. A meal appeared before him. a small dish of food, shaped in unfamiliar forms. Evan hesitated but ate carefully. It was surprisingly pleasant, tasting faintly sweet and earthy. He realized that even in this strange world, his body needed sustenance, and survival depended on adapting. Later, Mara returned. She entered quietly, carrying a small tablet. "You are doing well," she said softly. "The Queen's court is cautious, but curiosity is growing. Some believe humans are too weak to survive here. Others are beginning to see potential." Evan looked at her. "Potential? For what?" "For the Alliance," Mara said. "The Queen is cautious, but humans have qualities she has not seen before. Courage, loyalty, creativity. She may be testing to see if your species can stand with the Varun as equals, or if you are simply fragile creatures that cannot survive alone." Evan's stomach tightened. I do not know if I am capable of that. I am only one person." Mara smiled faintly. "One person can change everything. You must remember that. Humans survive because they do not give up. You have already done what most would fail at. You have come here alone. You have answered honestly, and you have faced fear. That is strength." Evan nodded, trying to feel the truth of her words. It was difficult to imagine being strong in this world, surrounded by beings so far beyond him. Yet he felt a spark of determination. He had survived so far, and he would continue to survive. The rest of the day passed with lessons and questions. Nobles came and went, each observing him, testing him with words, gestures, and small challenges. Evan answered carefully, sometimes hesitating, sometimes relying on instinct. Each encounter made him more aware of the Queen's wisdom. She was not looking for mere answers, but for honesty, courage, and the willingness to adapt. By evening, Evan felt exhausted but more alert than ever. He had learned that survival in this palace required more than cleverness. It required understanding, patience, and trust. He was still alone, yes, but he was beginning to understand that being alone did not mean being powerless. Mara stayed with him for a few moments before leaving. "Rest," she said. "Tomorrow will bring more tests, and the Queen will decide if your presence is a threat or a gift. Remember, humans are strong in ways most species cannot see. Use that strength wisely." Evan lay on the floating bed, staring at the ceiling that shimmered like the night sky. He thought of home, of Earth, and of the countless people who would never know the danger he now faced. Yet, for the first time, he felt a faint hope. He had survived the first encounter with the Queen. He had faced the court and answered honestly. And he had Mara, an ally who understood this world better than he did. Tomorrow he would face more questions, more tests, more unknown challenges. But tonight, he could rest. Tonight, he was still alive, and in a universe filled with dangers. That was everything a human could hope for. Evan closed his eyes, letting the soft pulse of the chamber lull him into sleep. The palace seemed to watch over him, neither threatening nor comforting, simply aware. He understood that he was a visitor here, a small creature in a vast alien world. Yet even a small creature could leave a mark. Even a single human could survive. Evan woke to a soft hum that seemed to come from the very walls of his chamber. The air shimmered faintly, as if the palace itself had begun to move while he slept. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, feeling the strange pulse of energy under his skin. He did not understand it, but he sensed that today would be different. A soft chime sounded, and a door opened. Mara stepped in, carrying a small device that glowed faintly in her hand. She smiled at Evan. "Today the Queen will test you further," she said. "It is called the Chamber of Echoes. It is not dangerous, but it will show her the truth about your thoughts and feelings. You cannot hide anything here. Are you ready?" Evan took a deep breath. "I think so," he said, trying to sound calm. His stomach was tight with nerves, but he nodded. "I will do whatever she asks." Mara led him down long corridors. The walls glowed softly, bending light in strange ways that made it hard for Evan to tell distance from height. He tried to focus on his steps, but his mind kept wandering to what awaited him. The Chamber of Echoes, Mara had said. A place that could sense truth. A place that would know if he was lying, or even thinking dishonestly. When they arrived, the chamber appeared almost empty. Its walls were smooth and polished, reflecting the light in 1,000 directions. The air was still, but it seemed charged with energy, vibrating faintly as if alive. Evan's footsteps echoed loudly as he followed Mara to the center. "You must step onto the platform," Mara said. "It will adjust to your size. Stand in the center and remain calm. The Queen will speak to you from here." Evan nodded, swallowing hard. He stepped forward, feeling the platform hum beneath his feet. The surface shifted slightly, molding to his shape. He felt a strange sensation, like the floor was connecting with him, sensing his presence. A soft voice filled the chamber. "Evan Hale, human," it said. The voice carried authority, yet it was calm, almost curious. "You have survived my court, answered my questions, and shown honesty. But honesty alone is not enough. Here you must show courage and truth in the face of fear. Are you ready?" Evan swallowed hard. "I am," he said, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his chest. The chamber brightened, and strange shapes appeared around him. Shadows twisted and moved, forming figures of enormous size. Some resembled beasts, others like warriors, all with glowing eyes and sharp features. The shapes moved closer, circling him, their forms shifting like liquid. Evan's heart pounded. He had to remind himself that they were illusions, created by the chamber to test him. He clenched his fists. "I am not afraid," he said aloud, though his voice trembled slightly. He felt the platform respond, the energy beneath him pulsing faster, as if acknowledging his courage. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. It was tall, taller than any human, with multiple arms and sharp claws. Its eyes glowed red, and it lunged at him with a speed he could barely see. Evan dodged instinctively, rolling to the side. His training kicked in. He had been through combat simulations on Earth, but nothing like this. The figure lunged again, faster, and he felt the air shift as it passed. Evan realized that the chamber responded to his movements, creating challenges based on his fear and hesitation. He focused on his breathing, counting silently to himself. 1, 2, 3. The illusions attacked again, but he moved with purpose, dodging, stepping aside, using every instinct he had. Each time he reacted honestly, without panic. The figure slowed slightly, as if the chamber accepted his courage. "Good," a calm voice said. It was the Queen. Evan felt her presence, even though she was not visible. "You react honestly. You do not pretend strength you do not possess. That is rare." The illusion shifted again, forming more complex patterns. Shadows of other humans appeared, showing him trapped in dangerous situations, facing impossible choices. Each scenario tested his loyalty, courage, and thought. Evan saw himself choosing between saving strangers or protecting himself, between lying to survive or speaking the truth. He felt a surge of fear at each scenario, but he forced himself to respond honestly. When he saw a vision of Mara in danger, he moved instinctively to protect her, even though it was only an illusion. When he saw visions of alien warriors attacking, he chose to evade rather than fight recklessly, remembering what Mara had told him. Survival required strategy as well as courage. The chamber seemed to sense his thoughts. The illusions slowed, then vanished one by one. Light filled the space, and Evan felt a strange calm wash over him. The pulse beneath his feet softened, and he realized the platform was acknowledging his honesty. "Human," the Queen said, her voice echoing gently, "you have faced fear. You have answered truthfully. You have not pretended to be stronger than you are, and yet you have shown courage. Few beings could do this in my chamber." Evan swallowed hard, feeling relief and exhaustion at the same time. I did my best," he said. "I tried to be honest and careful." "Your best is unusual," the Queen said. "Most species would lie, exaggerate, or flee. You faced reality, and you acted. This is strength, human, a strength I have rarely seen. Tell me, why do you not fear the outcome more?" Evan hesitated, thinking of Earth, of his family, of the countless dangers he had faced in training and missions. "Because humans survive by facing what we must, even if we are afraid. We cannot control everything, but we can act. We can try. That is what makes us strong." There was silence, and then a soft hum filled the chamber. Evan felt the energy beneath him respond, pulsing in recognition. He realized the Queen had accepted his answer. He was not just being observed. He was being understood. "You have done well," the Queen said finally. "You will leave the chamber, but know this. The truth you carry within you is valuable. In a galaxy where most species hide behind power and fear, honesty and courage are rare. Humans, you have a gift that others do not." The chamber softened, and the illusions vanished completely. The platform beneath him lowered gently, allowing him to step down. Mara was waiting at the entrance, smiling. "You did well," she said. "The Queen is impressed. Few species survive the Chamber of Echoes, and fewer still leave it with her approval." Evan nodded, feeling both pride and relief. It was hard," he admitted. "I thought I would fail." Mara shook her head. "You didn't. You acted honestly and courageously. That is what the Queen values. And she may have begun to see humans differently because of you." Evan followed Mara back to his quarters, feeling exhausted. His body ached from the stress, and his mind was racing with thoughts of what he had just experienced. The palace felt less threatening now, though still alien and powerful. He realized that survival in this place required not just strength or speed, but honesty, courage, and cleverness. As he sat on the floating bed, he thought about the Queen's words. Humans were small, fragile in appearance, but they carried qualities that many larger, stronger species did not. He felt a spark of hope. If he could prove himself, if he could survive here, perhaps humans could gain respect in this galaxy. Hours later, Mara returned with a meal. She handed it to him and sat across from him. "The Queen will ask more questions," she said softly, "but you have passed the first real test. You have shown her what humans are capable of." Evan took a bite of the strange food, savoring it slowly. "I never thought a single person could make a difference," he said. "But maybe it is possible." Mara nodded. "It is always possible. Humans survive because they do not give up. Even alone, you have strength. Remember that." Evan leaned back on the bed, letting the chamber's pulse lull him into a strange calm. He thought of the illusions, the challenges, the Queen's voice. He had faced fear and uncertainty, and he had come out stronger. He realized that this was only the beginning. The Queen would continue to test him, the court would continue to observe him, and dangers were still waiting beyond the palace walls. But he had learned something vital. Survival depended on honesty, courage, and adaptability. And for the first time since he had arrived, Evan felt a quiet confidence. He was a human, small in size, but not in spirit. He had faced the Chamber of Echoes and survived. He had shown a strength that the Queen could not ignore. Tomorrow, he would face new tests, new challenges, and perhaps new dangers. But tonight, he could rest, knowing that he had passed a trial that few could endure. He had survived the chamber, and in doing so, he had begun to prove that humans, even alone, could hold power that others might underestimate. As he closed his eyes, the soft glow of the chamber reflected in his mind. He could feel the Queen watching, still observing, still learning. But for now, Evan allowed himself a rare moment of peace. He had faced the impossible and survived, and that was only the beginning of his journey in the alien palace.